All right, you ready to dive right in? Do it.
Oh, got to finish my ice cream first.
Leave
that in the video.
I can't edit these. This is how I get it done. I'm so lazy now. Hey guys, welcome to the Launchpad Podcast. You know what's up? Follow us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Launchpad Pod, and our website launchpadpod.com. Watch us on YouTube's. Check us out on. Oh, did I say Twitter? I meant X.
You're like, are we supposed to be calling it something different now?
Like, yeah. Hey, did you tweet at them? I mean, did you X at them? Did you triple X at them? Like, what are we supposed to say? It's so dumb. So dumb, guys.
I refuse to use the coffee sizes when I go to Starbucks. I say small, medium, and large. And sometimes I have a friend who's like, they don't call it a small, they call it a grande. I'm like, I call it a small. And no one at Starbucks has ever been like, what? What is this large you speak of? Sometimes they're like a venti. I'm like, I don't know, a large, a medium, whatever thing I'm asking for.
Because it's too confusing even for them. Because somebody shows up and they're like, give me the big one. And they're like, it's a venti. And they're like, I would have called that a large. Yeah, like, you don't know. I don't know. I don't know what.
Why can't we just have standard sizes for like standard words for things? But anyway, I refuse.
Fuck, it's a kilometer. I'm American. God damn it! When I go into my coffee place, I don't want to hear any of that Italian French shit. I don't give a shit. Like
there was a movie. I think it's so. This is 40. But Paul Rudd is like, I refuse to call it that. What the fuck is venti? Give me a large. And the woman is like, it's called a venti because it's 20 ounces. It's literally the size. And he's like, oh. And I felt stupid when I heard that. But then again, okay, but grande isn't a size. If they were all numbers, then okay, I support your system. But you can't have different languages and different sizes for shit. For this, you can't have one thing be a number and another thing be a size. Can you imagine if you walked into like Target and tried on shirts and you're like, all right, I have a small, a medium, and a 44. Get the fuck out of here.
What if grande is like a grand, like 100 of something?
That can't be because venti comes after it and 100 doesn't come before 20.
I'm not even going to pretend to know like cups and measurements, but like what's a tiny little measurement amount of liquid?
A drip drop.
Give me 100. It's 100 drips. Oh, see, we figured it out. See,
give me 100 drip drops.
Give me 100 drip drops and a gloopy doop.
Can I have 100 drip drop caramel macchiato, please? Let's open our own coffee shop, and the sizes will be individual towards whoever's ordering it. So when they walk up, we just, what size would you like? Do you want a drip drop, a grande, or a 14? What?
I want a liter of cola. Just order a large soda, Farva. I want a liter of cola. Oh my God. What are we talking about? Mom's murdering.
So I refuse. I refuse to call Twitter X. It's fucking Twitter. Change it. Call it whatever dumb thing you want. I want a venti of Twitter.
There's still a concert venue in Indianapolis that has changed names 100 times, but for me, it will forever be Deer Creek. They're like, it hasn't been Deer Creek in almost 35 years, dude. It's called like Klipsch fucking pharmaceutical stadium now. And I'm like, I don't care.
But you say Deer Creek, everyone knows what you're talking about. They're not like, what?
If they're over 35.
Okay, yeah. Fair. Yeah. Right. So another 10 years, we'll say Twitter and everyone's going to be like, what is Twitter?
You mean X dog?
They'll have to Google it, but at that point, Google will be called Y. But it'll be spelled WHY.
Anyway, we started off somewhere else. I don't know, ordering coffee. Apparently,
I don't even remember what we're supposed to be talking about tonight.
Moms murdering their kids. We're going to talk about Evil Dead Rise, buddy. But that's what the show's about. We were pitching social media. We got sidetracked. Let's get on with the goddamn show.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
right, welcome to the Launchpad Podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm a large. I'm Matt.
Molto bene, Matt. Molto bene. And I'm super excited. It's October 2nd when we're recording this, so it'll come out like, I don't know, Thanksgiving probably.
Because we still have fucking Comic-Con shit. We got good Comic-Con stuff still in the can,
Still
ready to
in
go.
The can, man. Oh yeah, that quesada's coming. JG Jones just dropped. You guys love that. I'm guessing because that's dropping. Time travel math.
Yesterday.
That's dropping on Wednesday. This is coming out probably next. It's crazy. We got fun stuff planned for October, though. We got the wives coming back to do a fun wives episode. We're going to watch a scary movie, and our wives are going to tell us how terrible it is. Or like it. Kate's been really into some good stuff lately.
I'm hoping that one wife loves it and the other wife hates it, and you and I just can step back and watch them kind of argue and debate it ourselves, and then we'll just correct them when they're wrong.
We watched Blood and Black Lace last night, a Mario Bava film, and it was fantastic. Molto bene. It was
Mamma mia.
It was venti good. It was awesome. It was awesome. I mean, colors that I've only seen in Suspiria. Like, it was one of the best giallos I've seen in a long time, and the colors were just so intense. It was so good. It was really, really cool. More of a mystery than a horror movie, but like, it is one of the first films on record to have a dude wearing a mask killing models. So like, early slashers, the guys don't have masks. This guy was like, I'm in a mask. I got the hat. I got the leather gloves on. Stab, stab, stab. Burn, burn, burn. Kill, kill, kill. It was good.
Nice.
Super good. But that's not what we came to talk about. We are still off topic. Let's get on topic, Rumi.
Well, I just watched a horror movie that I'm a little late to the party to, acknowledgeably late to the party to, but
classic Rumies.
I finally watched Evil Dead Rise. I sat down, turned it on. When Rumi tells me a movie is good, I know there's a 75% chance it's good and a 25% chance I'm about to get to an argument. But I feel like Evil Dead is a movie that specifically you, Rumi, of all my friends, know and love and respect and appreciate to a certain point where if it wasn't good, you would know that it wasn't good. I don't think that we'd be like divided like we are on some films. I think if you say it's good, I'll at least acknowledge why it's good.
Well, Ash is one of my favorite characters of all time from movies that, spoiler alert, I actually don't think are good.
Go ahead, explain more, elaborate.
Evil Dead 1 is fine. It's a low budget horror movie, and it is brutal and balls to the wall and all over the place and kind of weirdly edited, but it does what it set out to do. And it kind of set a template for people being like, this horror movie is unsafe. It's crazy, partially because of its low budget, wild MacGyver-esque way it was put together. You didn't know where it was coming from. You didn't know what it was going to do. Evil Dead 2 is a remake of Evil Dead 1, and honestly, is just okay from a movie standpoint. Wildly entertaining as a B movie, great. Heck yeah, B movie, fantastic. But it introduced what I call Splat Stick, which is Sam Raimi's signature, like, if the Three Stooges did it, I'm there. That is not my game. Evil Dead 2 is fine. It's a B movie, but as far as what it presents, it's a little too splat stick for my taste.
And you're saying the first one has none or less than that?
Almost none.
Okay.
But
so you think the first one is more straight and the second one is more of a comedy?
More of a comedy.
Okay.
But I respect what it's trying to do, even if like when I'm watching it, I'm kind of rolling my eyes at it. But it introduced the Ash that I love, which is here's a guy who sucks at being a hero, who's thrust into this, hey, you're the hero of a movie now. And he's like, really? I'm the hero of the movie? I'm terrible at this. And everybody's like, yeah, you are. And he gets a chainsaw for an arm, which is awesome. And he never utilizes it properly. Like, we never get a great like chainsaw battle out of it because it's really hard to do a chainsaw scene. But that's fine. It is one of those things that putting the chainsaw on the arm bumped the balloon up so high for me. I'm on board for the next whatever you do. Ash versus Evil Dead, the series, is my favorite of the Bruce Campbell vehicle. I think that TV show was fantastic, hysterical, gory as hell, and did with what finally found its footing for what the property's been trying to do since Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 was like, I don't know how to edit comedy, but I have some funny ideas. And then Ash Army of Darkness is a fun movie, but a completely different genre. And again, leaning a little heavy on the splat stick, and I still don't think they knew how to edit comedy. But it's interesting. I love that you swung that bat that hard and went that wild, and that is one of my favorite VHSs to pop in. It is
Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness. It's just so weird. It's so weird, and you got a chainsaw for an arm. But the TV show Ash versus the Evil Dead was the one that I was like, this found its stride, found what it was doing, knew what to do with a chainsaw, knew how to do the comedy finally, and it all clicked for me. Finally.
So that's like your favorite. If you could only have one thing from the franchise of Evil Dead, Ash, Army of Darkness type stuff, that's the one that you're keeping?
If of the Bruce Campbell legacy, yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what
if I had to pick from the franchise, it'd be Evil Dead Rise, man. Evil Dead Rise is my favorite movie of the franchise.
Well, wait, we skipped two. As far as I'm concerned. You've told us about the first Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, which is essentially the third movie in the franchise. Then you jump to the TV show. What about the musical, which you and I have seen both separately and together? I've seen on two coasts with like 3 different casts. Where do you think the Evil Dead musical? I know it's a different genre. And for those of you who don't know, there is literally I think it was off-Broadway musical of Evil Dead that is over the top, more so even than the movies. Giant headless football players running around, spraying blood on the crowd. Rumi and I got to go a couple of years ago and were treated to a behind the scenes. We got to go play with the props and shit.
Big shout out to AJ Dana, our buddy over there. He played Ash on that. He's been doing big stuff. Big shout out. It
was so cool to do. And it was fun to be there. I'd seen it in New York City. Rumi saw it there. I saw it there. We saw it together there. It's fucking fun. Where does that lie as far as a Evil Dead / Ash experience for you?
Oh, that's top notch because that's audience involved. Again, it knows what Evil Dead was trying to do and actually lands the tumble. Whereas like I said, Evil Dead has all the DNA, but I think what pisses me off the most about Evil Dead and why I'm like, it's not that good is because it has all the components. It knows what it needed. It got them all together. It just didn't know how to land it. So it's kind of messy. There's some slow beats. Some of the gags that they're like, this is hysterical. And you're like, is it? Because it's going on way too long.
I was going to say, is it funny for this long?
Yeah. There's a scene where he's like, ha, 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 and all the things start laughing with him. That goes on for an obscene amount of time. It's way too long. It's that's a funny idea. He's laughing and the clock laughs and the deer laughs and then they're all laughing. Okay. But it goes on way too long. And again, I know there's people who are diehard Evil Dead 2 fans. And again, Ash is right behind me. I love the whole thing that they created. I just think you had it and you didn't know what to do with it. It was so good. So it's like, what is this? And it's riding that line of comedy. It's riding that line of horror, tons of gore, and a chainsaw. What are you going to do with it? And it's really hard. And the musical, the whole time is like, we're this goofy, fun musical. We have no right to be doing this or having this much fun doing it. And we're just going to spray you with blood. Great. That is a fun time. And that's what I want from an Evil Dead experience. When I see Evil Dead 2, when I go to like a graveyard screening or you go to a midnight show and everybody's cheering, that makes it work. That's
a balloon bump in and of itself, right? Because then you're part of a crowd that's all vibing on the same thing.
But it's super funny because it's one of those things that like everybody's like, you love Evil Dead. I'm like, I do. I mean, the character again.
But there's an asterisk after that, right?
I have a collection of chainsaws because of the Homelight XL2. That's the chainsaw from the Evil Dead. I have a collection of chainsaws from it that I'm building into Ash chainsaws. I've been him for Halloween multiple times. I went to the graveyard screening in LA dressed as Ash, and I stormed the stage and took the mic and introduced the movie one night. I love everything that it represents, but it's hard to get a movie to be what I want it to be. And that's frustrating as a fan, right?
I get that. I have a lot of questions. Let's keep going though with Evil Dead as a fandom and as a franchise. There was a remake in the early aughts.
Fede Alvarez, yeah.
Where are you on that?
Look, that one was balls to the wall, and it didn't let up. But at the end of the day, what do I remember from that? Is the stupid fucking ask when it was like, hey guys, you don't know how defibrillator work, do you? No? Because neither do we. We got a battery and we got 2 nails and some wires. And we're going to jam it in this chick and she's going to wake up. You buy that? And I'm like, no, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I've seen enough defibrillator scenes in movies to know that's not how they work and to know that this is not how it works. You look, and they're like, we asked
if you're not watching YouTube, you got to go watch YouTube because Ruby's all riled up now. I see steam is coming out of his collar.
They're like, we asked you to buy these demons. I'm on board for that. I've seen these movies. I know how it goes. I've bought off way more than this movie had to offer. I've like, there's so many B movies I've watched and been like, okay, fine, I'll buy it. Whatever. I'm having a great time. But the movie wasn't fun enough for car battery defibrillator to be something that I can buy off on. If you're going to be this hardcore remake and then you want me to buy off on something that's cheesy and stupid, it's not working. What I leave that movie with is something that almost derailed the movie for me, and then a pretty cool scene with an electric carving knife where she like cuts her tongue up. And then the end when it's raining blood and they're just like killing a demon in the face with a chainsaw. That was cool, but I was so pissed off about the defibrillator that he worked out of a car battery, and then that she woke up and all her scars were gone. She's like, I'm perfect again. You're like, wait, what? What? No, what? In Evil Dead, one of the rules is if you're possessed by a demon, you're dying. Like that's part of the lore. Is like when you get possessed, it counts as a death. And Ash has been the only one who can fight it off. And then like I don't know. She comes back fine and then face fucks a demon with a chainsaw, which is cool. But like that was not good. And like normally that would be the biggest high five for me. Like, yeah,
sure.
Rain blood chainsaw to the face. But like I was so mad about
the balloon was already so far down.
Oh, dude, he might as well have taken those charged nails and popped the balloon with him. That's what he did. Because I was like, everything from that point on.
That also wouldn't work.
From that point on, I was like, no.
Not scientifically sound. I watched that movie shortly after it came out. I remember zero. I don't remember anything that you just described, except except the blood rain. And I remember watching my watch for the last act because I very well might be remembering it wrong. I might have been in a shitty headspace, whatever, tired. But I was just waiting for the credits to roll and they would not come. I feel like it was in my mind, the way that I remember it. And I couldn't tell you why, because I don't remember anything about the scene, except that it just kept going. And again, I might be wrong, but the way I remember it is a boring movie that would not end, that didn't feel like the originals. If that's how I'm thinking, is it worth the rewatch?
I mean, I think it's worth the rewatch just to confirm, usually. And here's the thing. People love that movie.
I was just going to say, I talked to someone this week.
Yeah.
A girl at school, like she's younger. I think she's 20 something, but she's a horror person and she talks about good shit. So I don't think she's stupid, but she was like, oh, I love that one. She said she liked that one more than Evil Dead Rise. And I was like, really? Well,
this one definitely, that one was definitely like, we're not having any fun. We're angry and we're drug addicts in it. It was more akin to like the new Hellraiser, which is like, look, you pulled it off.
Right.
And I was on board until you just couldn't keep the attention. And something is wrong if a chainsaw demon face fuck doesn't get me so pumped to walk out of that theater being like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like,
yeah,
what did you do wrong? And I don't know if I could pinpoint it, but it wasn't right. And look, I was totally fine with Ash is a chick now. I do not care about that stuff. You can make them whoever, it doesn't matter. Just make more movies, which they finally fucking did.
Let's get into that. So now we have, what was this, 2022?
2023. That came out this
so
year.
It's right around right here. So 2023, Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
You said it was good. I popped it in, so to speak, but that's not a thing anymore. So I just started it on.
Pulled it out of
HBO
its case.
Yeah. And it opens in the woods, as you'd expect it to. And there's a couple people already at a cabin. So already I was like, oh, I like this. And actually the credit sequence is that
flying through.
You're the demon POV flying through the woods, crashing through titles. And I was like, okay, you know who your audience is. You know that we've already seen this. You know that you and I was like, this is great because you're not showing us them drive there. You're not showing us them park the car and get into the cabin. We already know that shit. Now we're just here at this cabin. And the whoosh goes to this girl on a dock and she reacts to it. We see it, where the whoosh's POV. She reacts and it was a drone. And in the context of the film, it's a drone. And one of the guys in the cabin was scaring her with the drone and says something about, oh, that would have chopped your face up. And they argue for a second. And he's like, yeah, my stupid girlfriend's asleep in the cabin. I don't know what's her problem. So I'm fucking with this drone. So the girl goes in. She talks to her friend. Her friend is a Deadite. And we see this coming.
Rips her scalp off.
Rips the other girl's scalp right off. Awesome. Then goes out. Then the scalp girl staggers out to the drone guy taking a leak on the dock, falls in front of him. He turns around, sees his girlfriend Deadite come out, and she grabs the drone, chops her face up, and then falls into the water with it. Awesome. How does she kill him?
He goes in and she rips his head off and tosses it onto the dock.
Oh, yeah. So he jumps in to save her.
Big meaty
and then the head
stump.
pops, yeah.
And big meaty stump. And then she floats out of the water in broad daylight. And then Evil Dead Rise appears behind her across the entire screen. And I was like, that's how you open a movie.
I was like, yep, I buckled my seatbelt right then. And I was like, great.
Click. Here's the thing, though. I had a moment where I was like, oh no, am I already not liking this movie? Because when she goes in to talk to her friend, it starts taking a minute. And she's like, are you sleepy? Are you sleepy? Oh, your boyfriend's kind of an asshole, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh no, please don't be one of those movies where it's like relationships, wham, wham, wham. Like, don't be an A24.
Dude, I got married so I didn't have to hear this bullshit.
Yeah. Like, look, and again, I knock on A24, but I love A24. Sure. Talk to me was great. But like when I watch Evil Dead, I don't need the A24. Like there's I call it the spaghetti thing. Everybody's trying to make their restaurant into a Michelin star. Sometimes I just want greasy pizza.
Sure. Yeah. Fair.
Like I don't.
Wait, why do you call it the spaghetti thing if it's a pizza analogy?
Because
I don't think you know about Italian food. Because
all Italian food is really for the sauce. Everything about it. It doesn't matter if it's spaghetti. It doesn't matter if it's rigatoni. It doesn't matter if it's like angel hair pasta. It doesn't matter if it's spirale. The pasta doesn't fucking matter. It's the sauce that matters. And everybody's just trying to get that sauce in their mouth with a different vehicle. When you watch horror, everybody just wants fucking murder in their face. That's why we're watching horror. We want to see something fucked up happen so that we don't feel as bad for our fucked up shit. So the vehicle doesn't matter. The pasta, the people, the characters, they don't fucking matter. Well, somebody decided, hey, we're going to reinvent horror. We're going to make the characters matter. And this is where you get Midsummer, and this is where you get Hereditary, and this is where you get, The Witch and all this stuff. Hey, that's great. I love me a Michelin star restaurant, man. I like 5-star restaurant. I like good food. And those are good movies. But sometimes I just want to go to Mama Caroli's, Nikki C's, and get their fucking nasty pizza platter pie or whatever the fuck it is, lasagna. There's different ways to ingest the sauce, but at the end of the day, you're just trying to get that shit in your mouth.
I love this, and I love everything about it. I completely relate to that. I understand what you're saying. I have absolutely no argument. I thought that's a great analogy. I love everything about it. I am so hoping that we get inundated with people ripping you apart for not only your take on the Evil Dead franchise, but also your entire slandering of Italian cuisine. Like I hope that it's just double barrels of you don't know Evil Dead and you also don't know Italian food.
It's that fucking
a double barrel boomstick.
It's that scene from Evil Dead where he's shooting at the hand and the blood spraying in his face for way too long, just marinara sauce. Spraying in my face. And I'm just like,
I totally get what you're saying though, and you're not wrong at all.
We put ourselves out there, guys. That's why we're these brass balls, man. We got to lay them on the table. You guys can take a hammer to them sometimes. Remember that movie that we saw where a guy put a nail in his dick?
No, but that's underselling it. Remember, fans sent us a movie to review, and it included a scene of a guy hammering a nail through his dick onto a bookcase or something.
Not effects either. For real, that was real. That was a real movie.
We were not prepared.
It's a good movie. Good job.
Compare that to pizza somehow.
On our show, we can. My favorite topping. Ooh, my favorite topping. Anyway, Evil Dead Rise came out, and I was worried that they were going to inject way too much character development into this. Then all of a sudden, we jump to this like rainy club that looks like it's out of Train Spotting or something, you know? And this chick is taking a pregnancy test in the nastiest bathroom of all time, and it's positive, and you're like, oh no, bom, bom, bom. And we get a little bit of, she's like, I'm going to go visit my sister, and she goes to this high rise in LA. First of all, where the fuck is this high rise?
It's in the same city. It's in the same city as the Matrix is the best that I could say.
Yeah.
Like not in the Matrix, but when they're, it is when they're in the Matrix.
It doesn't rain that much.
It's green.
It's green.
It's green and it's pouring.
It doesn't ever rain that much in LA. And she goes there and it's like this rundown shitty building. There are plenty of those in LA, but the interior is like Chicago old. LA old does not look like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway.
Doesn't really matter. It's a city.
You meet her sister, who's like a tattoo artist, and she is funky and fun. And she has 3 kids, and they're funky whippersnappers too, and they're super fun. Look, I like the characters. I like the characters in this movie. Sometimes I think the movie tried a little too hard to make me like them, but at the same time, hey, you didn't spend a lot of time on it, and you didn't A24 it. You hit me with their archetype. You're like, I'm the funky fun mom. I have a tattoo gun. Let's go on with the movie. Hi, I'm her kid number 1. This is my thing. I have a doll head. I'm kind of creepy. The end. And you're like, great. Is that the end of the character development? And they're like, yep. And I was like, great.
So all you need to know about this character. This is the oldest kid. She's the girl. She got a short haircut. And she's a protester.
Yep.
Got it. Cool.
I'm the eldest sister. I'm cool. I care for these kids. And I want to argue. They like, look, they nailed it. It's a fun dynamic. It's not your stereotypical white picket fence dynamic. It's not a nuclear family dynamic. I like it. They have a little bit of interaction. They go out to go get pizza. On the way back, there's like an earthquake. You know, like they have in LA. That's the thing. That's the thing. Like movies, the only thing they know is like LA is earthquakes, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, they don't know what the weather's like. They don't know what the architecture in the building's like. Anyway. Earthquake happens and they find a secret vault full of like
under the parking lot of their apartment.
I love this scene. The vault that they find with all the crosses was so fucking creepy. And inside there's a crypt and the crypt is cracked. She puts her hand in there. They put their hand in there and
it's the DJ boy, the middle child, or I guess it's a middle child, the DJ kid.
The DJ kid. They put their hand in there and you're like, don't do that. I'm screaming at the TV. Don't do that. Don't put your hand in there. And they pull out this gnarly book and we get a new Book of the Dead. And this is where I'm like, yes, movie. Yes, because here's something that we've been saying this for years, Rumi. Let go of the past. Let go of the last movies. Show us something new. And now they're saying that there's multiple Books of the Dead. There are other iterations of this evil have appeared throughout time. And inside this vault, there's the book and there's some old records that are recordings of secret ritual, which is so fucking cool. You obviously were not as pumped about this scene as I was.
No, at this point, I'm still fine. I'm liking it. It's good filmmaking. I like the movie. I like what they're doing with it. I agree with you that you kind of get a read that we're already into he found the Book of the Dead. So you're not doing that thing. You're calling it the A24 thing or Midsummer. It's not that thing where it's like blah, 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 blah. Scary. It's like, hang with us for a second. We're introducing these people and we're going to get the Book of the Dead. Clearly, and then he pulls out records. So you're like, I ostensibly know what's going to be on those records. And they do a really good job. He brings the Book of the Dead up. I thought the Book of the Dead was cool design. I like that it wasn't the same that we've always seen.
It's like teeth on the side.
Yeah, it has almost like Venus flytrap side that's like these long fangs. And they're trying to get it open. They're trying to get it open. It won't open. He cuts himself on a fang and a couple drips of blood hit the book. And we see the book kind of suck the drips in while the two kids are looking at the cut finger.
Veins grow across the book.
And then the teeth kind of flex a little bit and open, and then they could look through. So they're looking through the book, and then obviously they put the record on. The DJ kid starts slowly spinning the record. And for a new take on an old flavor, you definitely get that vibe of listening to the old reel to reel of the scientist or the archaeologist explaining how he found the Book of the Dead and shit. And it's got just enough intonation and words and obviously the tone of what the original had that you feel like it is good Evil Dead. You feel like it's Evil Dead. And now you're back into it's enough that it's new. You're essentially listening to a pastor who is part of a church who has found this Book of the Dead. And in a meeting, he says he wants to explore it. And nobody, the elders of the church or the group don't let him. So he gets ostracized and he starts exploring it on his own. And then throughout the movie, just like in the other ones, throughout the movie, we keep hearing new parts of it. And he keeps explaining more about what he found, including how I don't think they ever say the word deadite, but they say these creatures, they're unstoppable. Even when I burned them, even when I blew them apart, even when I XYZ, you can't be stopped. The only thing you could, at some point is.
And they enforce these with these gnarly pictures of like foreshadowing. And you're like, oh man, yeah, the picture's great. Because look, I love the original art. I have a copy somewhere of the the Evil Dead book that was like a recreation with the cool pages in it. Not the DVD, like an actual like prop book. Really cool. I love that art from the original and Evil Dead 2. But like this one had like a nice input of creepy art. It was great foreshadowing of the things to come, and like they like showed there was like a path of the possession, sort of a course that it took. And throughout the book, they kind of evolve on how that worked. And the record playing is just so creepy because the voice is all like, and you're like, oh no, fuck. You remember that movie Session 9?
Not only do I remember it, but I keep thinking about it lately. Like enough to think that there's a latent thing that happens in that movie, like a subconscious plant that was made, because I haven't seen it in 10 years. But I think I've been impressed. Some impression has been made that I need to rewatch it.
It's a great scary movie. Like bare bones, but like phenomenal. It has one moment that's hysterically bad where he's like, hey, fuck you, Gordon. No, fuck you.
Yeah.
And he says it like all ridiculous. Kate and I still to this day will be like, fuck you. And like, oh my God. But like that movie has some of my favorite like use of fucked up audio where they're like listening to the tapes, and in the tapes
takes place in an old hospital,
in an old asylum, actually a real asylum. Fucked up. Mm-hmm. And they're in the basement listening to these tapes, and it's called Session 9 because there's 9 sessions to this woman's multiple personalities. And as you get deeper into her personalities, they get creepier and creepier. And they're like, please let us talk to Billy. I don't want to let you talk to Billy. Let us talk to Billy. I don't want to talk to Billy. Hello. And you're like, fuck, oh, scary as shit. No. This reminded me of that all day, and I loved it. I loved that record thing. The way they edited it through, where you'd like cut the speakers and you'd see him turning the record player. It was so cool.
You used the word vehicle a moment ago, but it's a cool vehicle to get this information to us, right? Like he could have Googled it or looked it up online, or it could have come with a video or a CD or whatever. But like, I feel like and one of my main criticisms is going to fly in the face of what I'm about to say, but this felt very much like Evil Dead because you found a contemporary urban way for a family in an apartment to find that information. Now, if they had found a reel-to-reel film or whatever you'd call it, reel-to-reel track, how would you fucking play that? Nobody, not your average person doesn't have that anymore. And it, like, to find the whole machine seems silly. They found a really cool way to make it urban, to make it contemporary, but still keep it true to the source material that we want, which, you know, you say the term fan service. I don't necessarily call that fan service, but you're scratching that itch for me. You know what I mean? And the scene works. Again, all the scenes in this movie, I feel like work. So you're listening to it. And I think the cool thing about a movie like this is now the second or third remake of this movie or reboot of this movie / franchise, if you want to call it a reboot or a remake. We already know the fucking deal. We know what this movie's about. We know what's going to happen. How do you still tell us, especially the exposition and the beginning stuff, without us getting bored? And I feel like this movie succeeds in that because, like you said, it's not like we don't, and what I said before, we're not seeing the people drive to the cabin. We're not seeing the people park their car. Get that out of there. We don't need that. You don't need to spend too much time about what they're going to find. We know what they're going to find. Have them find it and get this show rolling. And I feel like that's what this sequence does.
Does a great job. So then by reading that, it awakens the evil. And the mom, Ellie, is in the elevator and shit goes crazy. The power goes out and she's trapped in the elevator. And then the elevator comes alive and we get our like tree moment where like the elevator wires are like grabbing her and like tearing her up and going under her skin and stuff. And she comes back all possessed.
Well, she also gets hit with the POV, the POV flying through the streets into the apartment, into her, into the elevator. So we know what that is. And it's an effective scene. And again, is giving us what we want while also making it kind of new. So now she is possessed.
And it's a gnarly scene. Like it's really upsetting, really fucked up, pretty scary. And she comes back and starts banging on the door and now there are no adults here. I mean, her sister, I guess, is an adult, but like not a responsible one. It's children and a roadie, right? And
yeah.
She's banging on the door and the kids are like, Mommy's with the maggots now. And I lost shit. That's when I was like, this movie is going to menace children for the next 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm so on board. The balloon was at the roof. I was so pumped. You killed their mom first. Holy shit. Like, holy shit. Killed the mom brutally. And now she's going to come back and torture these kids. And they bring her inside and she's like in the bathroom and she's climbing up the walls. They fight her. They get her outside. But like, they figure out they're trapped in the building because the fire escape has collapsed. The elevator's messed up. Like now they're trapped.
The stairs are gone, presumably because of the earthquake, but like literally they can't get off that floor.
Yeah. There's neighbors involved. Like one of the neighbors has a shotgun. He's shooting at the mom. Like there's two neighbor kids that are kind of like trying to help. I'm trying to remember like the order of things, but
like she comes in and there's a couple of moments where we know she's possessed, but they don't know that yet.
Yeah.
And then, you know, she says a couple things that sound like she's just fucked up or high or whatever. And then it slips into demonic evil shit. And then it comes back a little bit to weird. And a couple times she does either come back or the Deadite is pretending. And she says something about like, oh my God, you know, I'm burning alive. They're taking me, some shit like that.
And like, she's saying this to her youngest daughter. Like the 9-year-old is like at the door and she's like, open the door for mommy. I'm better now. And the little girl is like reaching for the lock and you're just screaming at the TV. It's such a well done scene because like, oh my God, the terror, the stupidity of a little kid first. You're like, she's opening that door.
Right.
The kid has not seen enough horror movies. I guarantee you, even in this cool family, they maybe let her see Scream too young, but like she hasn't seen an Evil Dead movie.
She hasn't seen Evil Dead.
She hasn't even seen like Event Horizon. You know, like hot ghost, come this way, baby. No, she doesn't know those tricks. She unlocks the door, comes in, starts tearing shit up, fucking her kids up, stabbing her kids and stuff. I'm just like, this is brutal. This movie doesn't give a
She
fuck.
dies, like the mom dies. They think she's dead. They perform last rite. One of the neighbors prays over her. She wakes up. They put her in the bath. They find out that she is really alive. So now they think she staved off death. She eventually gets locked. They lock her outside.
Yeah.
And then in doing so, one of the characters, it's probably one of my favorite scenes, looks through the peephole.
And she kills
and you
all
see
the
this
neighbors.
whole scene.
Yes.
Yeah, there's like, and it does a great job of being a big budget movie and a big Hollywood movie, but there's only a handful of cast really for the entire show. And she essentially kills 3 or 4 people out in the hallway, including 2 children that we don't really know, but they're 2 kids. And we just see one fly into frame, smash against the wall. And that's it for that kid. Shotgun shooting everywhere. And she comes in, she's got a hole in her. Yeah. And she's been like, and again, like what you said about
we get the eyeball gag. You forgot that one of the kids, she pops out the dude's eyeball. It flies through the air and goes down a kid's throat. And
that's right.
Like that is Evil Dead as fuck, man. The flying eyeball gag, which again is a staple of like kind of cheesy, that sort of cheesy way that Sam Raimi used to make movies. But it's super fun and super iconic. And they did it, and he choked to death on it. Fuck, chokes. Rips a dude's throat out, tears a dude's stomach open.
All through and you see all of that through the keyhole or the peephole.
Awesome.
The throat getting ripped out and stuff. Yeah, and that's the guy who lost his eye. Great eye makeup, and then he gets his throat ripped out. It's really effective and really fun. And this is still with the mom being possessed, right?
Yeah.
The aunt, and I might be going out of order, but the aunt listens to a little bit more of the tape, the record, and the mom comes in. At one point, the mom is choking, I think, the aunt, and the son runs in and smashes her with a chair. And the little daughter is watching this whole thing. And I was like, you're like, any one of these children, even if they live, fucking traumatized, right? Forever traumatized.
Oh my God. And she has, so her middle kid, she stabbed her, scratched her. How did she somehow infected her?
Right.
And she's in the kitchen. There's a lull moment where you think you have a moment of breath, and she's in the kitchen. She starts eating glass, and you see the glass sticking out of her throat.
Yeah, she's taking like a wine glass and just biting it like an ice cream cone.
And then they come in and they're like, what's going on? And she says some fucked up shit that I can't remember, like some really. She
says there's creatures inside of me, and I'm trying to kill the creatures inside of me. I don't like creatures inside of me. And then she looks at the newly revealed pregnant aunt and is like, do you, aunt whatever? And like, oh, it's just so fucking creepy. You just found out I was pregnant and you're talking about killing the creatures inside of you.
Oh.
Then there's a fight. She jumps off the counter.
And she grabs a goddamn cheese grater. Ah! I lost my shit. Dude, I'm jumping off the couch. She takes a cheese grater to her aunt's leg and just goes, shunk. And my knuckles have scars from cheese grater accident. When you're making that pasta alla mone, man, you got to grind down an entire fucking cheese brick of Parmesan, you know? And you're tearing down that Parmesan. I don't know when I turned.
Why are you so obsessed with Italian food tonight? Did you eat dinner yet?
I'm trying to lose weight, roomies. I'm not eating anything. No, I'm just kidding. Just fucking Italian food's good, man. Come on, the red sauce, the Parmesan. So you grind down all the Parmesan, right? And you get a big pile as big as your head. And I've sliced my fucking knuckles off on a cheese grater. So I know what that feels like. I know the sound it makes. I know the feeling of my knuckle skin just falling into the Parmesan and me not finding it. And you guys all ate my fucking Parmesan knuckles. Anybody?
That's some Evil Dead shit right there. Gross.
Somebody's listening right now and they're like, wait, they're trying to do the math. They're like, when did we have that dinner party where the service
They're like, I don't want to listen to these two. I don't want to watch this movie, and I'm not eating Parmesan anymore.
The cheese grater. that. Look, the Freddie Alvarez one, the one we were talking about, 2 things I remember from it. This thing I'm remembering like 9 things from already. The cheese grater I will never forget. That was one of the best implements, and it wasn't even a kill. Just one of the best implements of a kitchen tool ever used in a horror movie. Cheese grater, brutal. This is a teenage girl. She's like 16, fighting her aunt, fighting her siblings, menacing a little girl, stabbing a dude in the face with her stabbing her older sibling in the face with scissors. Like, it is gnarly. And by now we know, oh my God, like now the other sibling is infected. And sure enough, and sure enough, like they turn and it's like, fuck. And the aunt listens to the record and it's like, you can only defeat them by complete dismemberment. You just have to just destroy them. And even that doesn't really work.
I think he says, and even they got to bury the pieces all over the place because they could still be alive. Yeah. They still come together.
Only the complete destruction of the host stops the Deadite. And
she burns the girl. She burns not the little girl, but the teenage girl. She burns her to death. She collapses on the floor, smoldering lump in the kitchen.
And then the mom pops up again. She's out in the hall and she tries to tear the baby out. And she's the one, she's like, dead by daylight. What are they screaming in the hallway?
Dead by dawn.
Dead by dawn. They all start screaming it. She's trying to tear the baby out. And I'm like, this movie's.
Oh, because the mom goes, I'll eat your soul. And then I'll swallow your soul. And she comes over and she realizes that the aunt is pregnant. And she goes, 2 souls.
Yeah.
I'll swallow both souls. I was like, oh, shit.
And they stab her in the eye with scissors, which is gnarly.
And they stay there for a second.
Yes.
And again, the youngest girl has not been turned and is now watching her aunt and siblings battle their demonized mom, who ends up getting stabbed in the middle of the face with scissors.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're watching that. Like, even if you take the demonization out of it, it's fucking horrendous.
So they're in the elevator, and of course we know the elevator's bad news, and it starts filling up with blood. Shining style. Awesome. Little girl drowning in blood. This poor little girl. And while they're drowning in blood, her siblings and mother are forming into some sort of like rat king nest beast. Fuck that. Oh.
The 3 bodies kind of combine. Some of them aren't even full bodies anymore.
Yes.
They kind of lump together to make this amalgamation creature
called the Marauder. You ever seen the movie? Because that's what it says right here. I'm reading. I'm doing research while we go, baby.
I don't think. Well, did I ever see what?
You ever see the movie Splinter?
Yeah, I did.
Really cool creature feature. Has one of my favorite creatures. This movie deserves a sequel so bad. I think it's great.
It's definitely an unsung movie too. Little
shaky cam, but of the era. Fine. Got a great creature. Got a great creature. But it does this thing where, like, if you die, like, your body parts fuse with the Splinter creature, and it keeps becoming a bigger and bigger floppy body part monster. And this turns into like a 3-headed, 6-arm, 6-leg thing. And it starts chasing them into the garage.
In this movie.
Yeah, in this movie, the Marauder has all the, 3 heads, 6 arms, 6 legs, and it's chasing the aunt and the little girl in the garage. And the aunt picks up a chainsaw and goes buck wild.
Well, because they'd planted Chekhov's, what would you call it? Chekhov's tree shredder. What's that thing called? Like at the end of Fargo?
Chipper shredder.
Yeah. Chipper. They had Chekhov's chipper at the beginning of the movie. You see it down there and you're like, that's got to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
So the aunt grabs the chainsaw. She starts chainsaw, chopping pieces, and eventually is able to get this thing. They kind of trick it up and around. They Velociraptor trick it with sounds and shit to get into the feeder, and they start chopping that shit up, and it's shooting blood all over the garage. And you see, I thought it was like one of my favorite shots, interior shots of parked cars as blood and viscera just splatters all across the windshield and window. That was so fun, so cool, and definitely
good.
definitely, of the franchise of like, there should be so much blood in Evil Dead. And at this point now, both girls are covered in it, right? At this point, it's only the aunt and the littlest child is left, the little girl.
Covered in blood. Both of them.
Harry style, right?
Yes. And
so now the creature's getting chopped up.
The head is left, the mother's head, and she's like, "You're gonna be a failure as a mother," and she kicks the head into the chipper shredder. Blood mist, red mist everywhere.
And isn't there a chainsaw face fucking, which we now know that you love?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, so good. I mean, there's so much chainsaw face fuck. It's great. It's so good. Oh, the aunt and the little girl leave in the car, and they're like, "I'm your mommy now." All right, cool, fine. Nobody's gonna question that at all. Child Protective Services isn't going to be like, where are your parents? Oh, their DNA's all throughout a chipper shredder? Sure. You're her mommy now. That's not how it works. Did we do an episode called After the Ending? We did.
Yeah.
Where right after a movie ends, it does not go the way the movie portrayed the ending to be. Like the ending of Mama, where it's like, two little sisters are adopted by a family, but their ghost mom is still haunting them. And at the end, one of the little girls goes off with her ghost mom, apparently in death. And they're like, yay, it's over. It's like, no, Child Protective Services is going to be like, hey, we gave you two little girls a week ago. You only have one now. What happened? They're like, oh, her ghost mom came and got her. It's totally cool. It's fine. We're not haunted now. And you're like, no, you're going to jail, and that kid is going to have a horrible life.
So like, even if all the demonic possession deadite shit has left this building somehow, there still is a physical building in whatever Chicago, Los Angeles this is, that is now covered in blood and dead bodies and pieces of people. And you can't just like lone wolf and cub anymore, where you just grab a kid and walk away. Like that couldn't happen anymore, right? Certainly not in the middle of an urban city in contemporary America, right? Where there's fucking forensics. Because you're right.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody is going to let demonic possession play in court. They're going to be like, did you kill your sister? Yeah, but she was a demon. Did you kill her with a chainsaw in, let me look at my notes here, a face fucking chainsaw murder? And like, well, I mean, if you want to be technical about it, yeah.
In my defense, she was sticking to the ceiling half an hour before that. If you don't believe me, ask this 7-year-old girl.
Ask my neighbor who, oh wait, he choked on an eyeball. Wait,
I was going to say, like, in your defense, we did find an eyeball in that guy's esophagus. And we have questions about that.
Yeah. If you're the only person alive after a bloody massacre and you killed half of the people in that massacre, it's not looking good. It's just, I'm just saying, even if you're innocent,
battle, my friend,
you have a lot to prove because they want to button this up tight. They don't want to get into demonic possession. They don't want to get into magic, books, and secret scary records. They don't want to get into any of that. They want to button this up tight. You put your sister and two of her kids in a chipper shredder, case closed.
Yeah, you need an insanity defense for two at that point.
So they leave. And then we get this like nice button at the end where this girl who they thought was like gone, who we recognize from the beginning of the movie, she's like, I'm going on vacation, blah, blah, blah. And she goes down to the car and you get the deadite view and it comes at her.
And it's because at the beginning of the movie, when we see the people in the cabin at the woods, it then goes to 3 days earlier. And it shows you the movie that we just described. So we're now seeing how that ends up at the cabin. Yeah, totally. Because she walks over to a bloody ass car filled, and she looks down, and as she's keying into a car filled with blood, and she like looks around, then she gets possessed, and it's like, okay, I was okay with that. It wasn't the greatest, most clever ending, but I was like, all right, fun.
Yeah. I only have one qualm with this movie, only one, and that's not even that big of a deal. I'll let it slide. I needed one. I just needed one Bruce Campbell cameo. And it can be as simple as a commercial for S-Mart. Just tie me into the world. Let me know that S-Mart exists and I'm good. Just let me know that.
You want to see him specifically or just a nod to the originals?
It could be his voice.
But it has to be him. It can't just be a mention of S-Mart. It has to be him.
I'll take a mention of S-Mart. I would.
Okay.
I would love a Bruce Campbell little tip of the hat. I don't need you to wink at me. It's a very delicate thing. If you had a commercial on TV and he was just there, come on down to S-Mart, blah, blah, and then you don't even hear it, you don't even pay attention to it. You don't need to wave it in my face. You need to be like, look, we got him. We got him to do a cameo in the movie.
What if he was doing the play-by-play commentary of a fight with Macho Man Randy Savage?
I'll take it.
Too much? I'll take it.
look, I just, it would have been nice to have a little nod in a way. But
did the remake one have it?
At the very end, he like turned around and it was like, I'll return soon, groovy. And like, that was like hey, we couldn't pull it off this time, but I promise I owe you.
Was he in the movie?
At the very end, after the credits rolled, there was like this like high contrast thing on his back, and he turned around.
But it wasn't even like in the context of the film. It's not like he drove by the cabin or anything.
It was literally like they wrote an IOU and handed it to the audience.
That might be one of the best ways you've ever explained something. And this is on top of the pasta analogy.
No. Literally, they were like, hey, I know we got him for like one afternoon and he showed it. Like, look, I like Bruce Campbell a lot. He's one of my favorite, like, that guy actors who're just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to do a bit with him. I just want to nod. Even if it's just she opens a magazine and like on the S-Mart cover, it's like, or he's just the guy at the grocery store giving the kids the pizza, like just a little tap, little tip of the hat. Again, it's hard not to shoehorn that in, and it's hard to not make that cheesy and milk that more than it needs to be milked. If you had just had on the car radio when they're flipping through channels, you hear him be like, "Come on down to S-Mart." That would have been all I needed. Could have been fine, even if it wasn't him.
That's still a pretty small criticism. Like, that's a pretty small deduction, right?
This is my favorite horror movie of the year. This is
wow,
phenomenal. It hit every mark, terrified the shit out of me. Like, literally, I haven't had this much fun being scared in a long time.
You think it, like, you're saying terrified? Are you overselling that, or were you actually scared?
I was genuinely unsettled with the amount of menacing of the children. As a father now of a little girl.
Yeah, it changes shit, right?
Changes shit. And when that little girl was looking through the door and crying for her mother, and the mother's like, "Mommy's with the maggots now," I was like, get the fuck out of here. That scares the shit out of me. That I wouldn't be in control to menace my own child. That I wouldn't know not to hurt my kid. Like, that's terrifying.
What about Kate being the deadite and you having to protect yourself and your child against what was your wife? Even if you know that she's no longer there, it's just her body / deadite, possessed, infected. How do you do that while your child is watching, right?
That's the thing. Like, look, I've watched enough zombie movies and enough things to know, like, when they're gone, they're gone. You can't worry about it. And like this has nothing to do with...
No use crying over drop Stromboli, you know?
Stromboli. Look, I'm just saying, I've seen enough zombie movies. I'm sorry, Rumi, if you were bit by a zombie, I'd be like... and you're like, that was fucking quick. Like, sorry, Kate, if you got bit by a zombie, like, I wouldn't be the guy who's like, no, oh no. But if my kid's watching, fuck. And the thing about deadites that make them way cooler than zombies is they're not just like when they're zombies and they die and then they wake up again, it's like, just shoot them. Like, obviously you know what happens next. But deadites like fuck with you, and they're like,
yeah,
hey.
Like they delight in tormenting you is essentially their thing, right? They're trying to hurt you. They're trying to fuck with you. They're trying to menace you in a way that is pleasing for them.
And that is what makes it really fucked up. And like, seeing that, the menacing of the children in this movie, and Launchpad Podcast loves us some menaced ass kids.
Yeah.
This movie, A+. Stabbing kids in the face with scissors. This little girl, oh my God, this little girl's got a bad time ahead of her.
I didn't think they were going to kill the little girl, but they did kill every other kid in the movie. There's at least 4 kids that die in this movie. So,
but
I got to give it to them for that.
You didn't think they were going to kill the little girl?
No, I thought that
she would make it out. Did you think they could though? Did the movie show you?
I was not sure, but I would have put money on it. But like, I also wouldn't have been very surprised because they didn't hold back for anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, there were 2 other kids that were, of the people who die in this movie, over half of them.
Yeah, 2/3 were children, if I make mathematically.
are minors.
We love that.
And props to the kid actors. All of them did a phenomenal job. Like none of those kids did I ever once be like, nah, they're not possessed. This is bullshit. Like I give them all mad. Like, I mean, fucking Cheese Grater. She pulled that off.
There were numerous points in this movie. And the best was I forget what was happening, but the very first thing that the possessed mom does, the aunt and the 3 kids are standing there watching her. And I was like, wait a minute. I understand that you don't know she's possessed by a demon yet, but you're not going to usher the kids out of the room regardless. I was like, that's like adulting 101 is like, you got to go get these kids out of here. The oldest kid, you help me bring her to the bedroom. The middle kid, you go get your sister and bring her into your room. You can't stand here and watch this. There was at least 3 situations where those kids stood by and watched family members doing some fucked up shit without and I like the aunt had a lot going on. It's very easy for me to
tattoo
armchair
gun to the
quarterback.
Face. The mom took a tattoo gun to one of her kids' faces.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Got it too. She got her. She tagged her with it.
Tagged her. Yeah, she has that until she turns into a deadeye, and then So you had mentioned that there's a question whether this is an Evil Dead movie for you.
Yeah, so for me, I don't disagree with anything you said, except I don't think it's my favorite in the franchise because I think it's missing a couple things that, to me, make it an Evil Dead movie. And I'm not saying the movie overall fails or should be docked any points for this, but it's almost like Terminator Salvation. Is it really a Terminator movie? Or is it just a future war movie that has robots in it that are Terminators? Because you could call Terminator Salvation robot movie, robot war, future war. The Terminator movie is about infiltration. There is a reveal in Terminator Salvation where a guy who thinks he's human turns out to be a robot, but that's not what Terminator is. Terminator 3 was kind of lackluster, but was a Terminator movie. It was there were 2 robots fighting each other, look like humans, go back in time. Terminator Salvation doesn't have any time travel in it. So
Terminator 3 was almost too much of a Terminator movie. So much of a Terminator movie that
not debating it,
okay,
but I'm not debating whether or not that's a good movie or not. I'm just debating whether it's a Terminator.
What was the last one that came out with the Mother of Dragons as Sarah Connor?
Terminator Jamboree. One of them was Terminator Genesis. I don't think that was this one. I think that was 2 ago. The one with the Mother of Dragons, I thought was stupid, but fun. And I liked for the umpteenth movie in the series.
I liked what they did there until the very end when they're like, and by the way, new Terminator. Because here's what I hate about Terminator movies is when they're like, guess what? New Terminators.
This is a Terminator that could breathe underwater. I don't care. Just give me an 800.
Stop making new Terminators. It's kind of like Batman movies. Guess what?
Yeah.
3 bad guys.
Same with Predators. Guess what? They're bringing people to their own world. No, just the same thing. Anyway, so for me, this is a little.
But to their credit, they're like, oh, but we already did that for Terminator 3, and you guys said boo because you made new Terminators and you made it too much of the same. You literally repeated all of Terminator 2, except in a biker bar. He's in a gay bar. Too funny. Too silly. You guys are goofy fucks. I hate that shit. Stop. Just make the movie right. You can't tell me that Evil Dead Rise didn't make the movie right.
No, it did. But my question again, comparing it to Salvation, is it a Evil Dead movie? For me, the fact that it was not in a cabin, in a woods, out in the, in the woods, makes it less Evil Dead for me. Now,
it's time to get out of the fucking woods. Burn the cabin down. We've done that 9 times.
I like that they did that choice. They didn't do that accident. They said, let's make an Evil Dead movie elsewhere. And I think that's a great idea. But I'm saying that's one thing for me that makes it not feel like almost like a balloon pop of, is this an Evil Dead movie? Not, is it a good movie? I'm not saying it's not good.
But Evil Dead needs to get away from the cabin. We have to get away from it. I'm
not debating it.
Like if you just put it in a cabin again, now you're just doing the Star Wars movies again. Stop.
No, you are correct. But for me, I'm saying it didn't feel like Evil Dead, and that was part of it. It didn't. It was not as serious as you're saying the remake was, but the fact that it was not fun, it was true horror. Uncomfortable, shocking. There was not a fun element to it at all. Even when she finally gets that chainsaw, it was brutal. It was violent. It was cool, but it wasn't fun. Whereas, like, to me, we talked about the musical. The musical cuts to a intermission as he first gets the chainsaw and is, chopping a deadite while yelling, singing, die, 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 die. And there's blood going everywhere and the curtain comes down and they come back, die, die. And there's blood.
Yeah.
That's obviously over the top and an extreme example, but to me, that is a very important part of an Evil Dead movie. That's how I know, or part of how I know, whether what I'm watching is an Evil Dead movie or not.
But this is where it's always been an issue. Riding the comedy line. This movie was fun because I was having fun being scared. I was like, you did it, man. When you whip out that cheese grater, that's silly to me. A cheese grater is a funny implement to be fucking people up with. But like, it knew what I wanted from a scary movie, and it knew how far to take what made it funny or fun. It wasn't cheesy, and Evil Dead is cheesy, but that's not what I like about Evil Dead. I don't like Evil Dead for being cheesy. I like Evil Dead for being fun and being awesome and like having chainsaws and doing the scary stuff. But like, there's always that line that it draws in the sand, and or no, I'll take that back. There's always 2 paths in that wood across a line in the sand. And it's like Three Stooges or the horror movie you thought I was going to make. And it always picks Three Stooges, whereas this gave me all that splatter, but didn't go. That's my Three Stooges impression.
I don't disagree. And I'm not saying that the movie was any worse for not having it. I'm just saying for me, it didn't feel as much like an Evil Dead movie for the minus or the lack of these things. So like the woods is one, the lack of the fun is another one. The way the deadites are handled, I have no complaints about how they were handled. It was creepy. It was scary. They looked really good. There was a couple things where there was a digital element. There's a couple of times where there was a great practical element. Awesome. And I loved how they did it. But all the deadites did the same thing. Whereas in the Evil Dead, deadites look different. Their bodies contorted. One had a giant long ass neck. It just was like...
That doesn't feel like a weird, incongruous mess to you?
It does, but it's almost like in the same era or vein of like all the early Peter Jackson New Zealand stuff, where you're like,
Dead Alive, wait a minute, yeah, baby, brain dead.
What the fuck are you doing now? And it just, sometimes that is like a little bit of cold water because I've seen a million trapped in a cabin, killer, haunted, whatever movies. I've seen them. But Evil Dead is different.
They combined into a giant 3-headed 6-armed monster. There's some weird contortion.
Okay, maybe I'd concede that point.
The Henrietta monster, right? That turns into the long neck monkey creature. That's like it literally makes monkey noises and flies around the room and like they float and fly and shit. Mm-hmm. We did get flying. We got floating and flying. We did get some crazy contortioning shit.
Got rising.
And then at the end of Evil Dead 2, they all turn into the giant amalgamation creature that's like, blah, 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 and there's like 9 heads popping out and he's chainsawing the heads and the eyes and stuff. Like, I feel like it was true to that sense, but it's like, we're never going to go down the Three Stooges route. We're never
you know what? Maybe a way to think of it is it's an evolution, right? Mm-hmm. They're not trying to remake it. They're not trying to necessarily make a straight sequel. It's an evolution.
Yeah.
The horror going audience now is different than it was in the early 80s, right? Clearly.
Right.
The filmmaking techniques are different. What constitutes a scare is different now, right? I get that and I understand that. Again, I'm not saying the movie was bad. There's just all these little things that to me make it be like, this movie could have just been called Possession Apartment, or you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be an Evil Dead movie. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just saying, what for me, for myself, for handsome Matt Corrigan, was this too far removed from an Evil Dead movie for me to enjoy it as an Evil Dead movie? I'm not sure. Like you said, you said it best when you said it. I'm questioning it. I'm not saying it's not.
Here's another thing. I think this is proof to the franchise as well. This franchise lives in a world where there are these super goofy movies within it, and an entire played for laughs TV show that's so fucking gory and over the top and gross that I love. I love the TV show. I absolutely love the TV show. But I think you can tell that dichotomy between the fandom of people who are like, I want that like balls to the wall, never gives up Freddy Alvarez movie. But the Freddy Alvarez had no DNA other than I'm in a cabin and I have these really sadistic demons that pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whereas this at least had the popping eyeball stuff. The demons did the thing that the Deadites do. You had a good Book of the Dead. Freddy Alvarez, I don't even remember the Book of the Dead from that movie. This one has a Book of the Dead that I will remember. You know, it had the audio callbacks. It had a lot of callbacks in it that I think are tips of the hat to what the original was doing and what the old one was doing, and you know, Dead by Dawn and all that stuff. Which I think it does a really good job of doing. But this hit the tone that I want from my Evil Dead.
See, maybe that's it. Maybe I appreciate it. I like it. I like it as an Evil Dead installment, but it's not my Evil Dead. It's not my favorite, which again is not knocking it in any way. It just is maybe just a shade too far away from my Evil Dead to be.
But like, would this, I would have been so like I would be disappointed if this movie did anything for Yuck.
Fair. And I agree. I think it would have made the movie less, but should the movie have been called Horror Apartment Rises or Rise or whatever it was called instead of Evil Dead Rise? I'm not sure.
But you got the Book of the Dead in there. This is what I want from the movie. Yeah, this is what I want from the movie. And again, I love that there's a world where it can have two DNAs, and sometimes it's slapstick and goofy as fuck. But like, can you imagine if they tried to make a slapstick goofy thing now? Like, the TV show pulled it off, and I can't believe it pulled it off. But like, can you imagine like, I don't know, a Bridesmaids version of Evil Dead? Like them.
Well, I guess here's the thing. The TV show had Ash. It was directly related to those originals.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, and I haven't seen the show yet, but I would say
you've never seen the show.
No, even though you've look at Rumi's face. If
turn it off, turn it all off. We're shutting it down. We don't record again until you watch the entire every season, all 5, 6, 7, 9 seasons of it, whatever there is, all of them. You got to watch them. And I want updates as you watch them. I want the update when the baby crawls inside the corpse from the butt end and puts its head out, the blown off head, and the baby's walking around like a meat puppet. I want you to call me when his head gets jammed in a corpse's ass and the dick's flopping off his chin. I want you to tell me how much you love that shit.
I'll be honest. This episode has made me want to go back and revisit all of them now.
Yes.
Even the ones that I've seen recently and that one that I haven't. But I'm going to say that to have that yuck stuff, whether it's a little bit or a lot, and Sam Raimi does it way too much sometimes, including in some of the Evil Dead stuff, in my opinion. I think you need that direct tie. I don't think you could make a new movie with a new cast, whether it's in the woods or in an apartment. I don't think you can do it with yucks. Like I said, the audience is different.
That brand of humor doesn't exist anymore. People don't appreciate the Three Stooges like it used to be. The Three Stooges is an old style of comedy. If you show kids Three Stooges now, they're like, Those dudes are just beating the shit out of each other. That's not funny. It's
Well,
like,
I also feel like it's weird because part of the appeal of that to you or I guess, is when you're showing demonization and a spirit attacking people in a cabin in the woods, there's certain expectations, right?
sure.
You don't expect the donkey head or the moose head on the wall to start laughing. You don't expect that. And you don't expect the lamp to move up and down and to laugh. You don't expect the deadite to start doing a ballerina dance outside where her head rolls around and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't expect that. And I think, I don't know, maybe just because we've seen those movies, seeing that again wouldn't work. Because there's not terribly many movies like that that would do that.
No, and well, I mean, even think about Drag Me to Hell, which is directly in the vein of the Evil Dead movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that splat stick, I'm going to vomit in your face for 9 minutes and then drop an anvil on your head, and it's going to have like cartoon Looney Tunes sound effects.
Yeah.
Slapstick isn't a current art form. So I think anything that you do that is slapstick or yucky in that regard isn't going to play the same. And in fact, I think when you watch those old movies, the only reason that it's tolerated is because there's a nostalgia factor for like, that's funny. Oh man, they're having a great time. This movie's a fun romp, but it's not a horror movie anymore. You've completely changed the genre. Yeah, it's funny because he's slip sliding in blood, but that's splat stick. It's still doing it for laughs and subverting that genre of horror. And if you had put any jokes into this, it would have completely yanked me out of what the good groundwork that you're laying. And I guess that's always the problem I've had with the DNA of these movies, is you have this awesome shit all lined up, and then just when you're like, man, this is going to be great, they're like, bing, bing, bing.
Well, let me ask you this. Because this is a good point. The movie that we're talking about, Evil Dead Rise, is it Rise or Rises?
Evil Dead Rise, like High Rise. It's a dumb name.
Evil Dead Rise, it was straight up horror, and it was successful, right?
Yeah.
I think it succeeds. It's hard to actually scare me in a movie. Like, I'm never like, but like this movie was successful. Most people would be scared by, or accomplished. The movie would accomplish the scares.
I dare you to watch that cheese grater scene and not go, right? Like cringe a little bit. Not
right. No, it
if your ass didn't pucker a little bit, I would say you're lying to me.
Do you think that the original, let's just say the first two Evil Deads for the sake of argument right now, the first two Evil Deads, do you think that those movies in their most horror, scary moments are as horror, as scary as anything in this movie?
The first one is, yeah. The first one is balls to the wall, like faces are melting, and it's also so gritty in its unpolishedness that it's terrifying, because you're just like, yeah. I don't know if these people know what's going to happen next. So, because like when you watch a movie that has polish to it, there's a safety to it. When you watch a B movie that's so unpolished that you're like, I don't know if this director knows what is supposed to happen next.
Sure, right.
I don't know what's around the corner, so now I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And the first one has that vibe where you're just like, anything could happen. Anything could crawl out of that body. The trees aren't safe. Anybody goes outside.
Like trees are raping people.
Right? Yeah. It's so fucked up. The first one is so super gnarly and unrelenting in that gnarliness. I think it has editorial problems. I think it's way too long. I think there's a lot of like weird, unpolished, gritty choices, but that's fine. I think it's not my favorite because of kind of just it's a DNA primordial soup of a movie, but it's awesome. It laid out what it did and it did it well. We watched that recently and you're just like, this is unrelenting in how just like balls, it just does not
So
stop.
The second one is more comedic and less balls to the wall is the phrase that you keep using.
But
so
he's got a chainsaw on his arm, so makes up for almost all of it.
But that's like fun and cartoony comic booky, right? That's not horror per se.
Sure.
Do you think the second one at its scariest moment is scary like this movie is? Because this is way more serious, right? This is trying to scare you. Whereas I'm not sure if the second one really, the original Evil Dead 2 was.
The second one just has awesome effects. It's just nonstop cool things happening. Chainsaws running. It's never scary. It's all played for laughs. But
so maybe you can't have yucks and scares.
It's a different genre. Sam Raimi created Splatstick. Maybe Sam Raimi and Brain Dead, Peter Jackson. I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
I can't tell you which one came out first right now.
Sure.
But like Brain Dead, Dead Alive, and Evil Dead 2 created a genre where it's like, I'm going to do things that are normally goofy, but instead of a pie to the face, it's a severed skull with brains in it. And it's like that. I'm gonna completely subvert comedy, and I'm gonna subvert horror at the same time. Does it work? Not all the time, but am I going to commit to it and do it? Respect. Mad.
Sure.
So much respect that I don't like it, and I respect the shit out of you and buy all your products and dress up as your characters and love it.
But I guess what I'm saying is you can't have a horror movie with yucks. You can have a horror movie that has a dopey character that makes you laugh, that makes the audience laugh. You can have comic relief in a horror, but you can't have Three Stooges. Like the second you introduce a Three Stooges element, you no longer have a straight. I mean,
Armies
it's not even
Darkness.
That you no longer have a straight horror. I have
an Armies of Darkness funny poster above my head right now. In Army of Darkness, he's in the graveyard and all the hands start like pulling at his face, and he literally does the boink, and two hands come up and poke him in the eye, and it makes like doing noises.
Right.
Like it's all played for laughs. It's a completely different genre, and it's fine if that's the movie you want to make.
Right.
Don't try
that's
to
not make... That's not what Evil Dead Rise was at all.
So
if you had one eye poke in Evil Dead Rise, it would have ruined.
But Evil Dead Rise did the eyeball gag. And he chokes to death.
But it wasn't played for laughs. If anything, it was an But I think you laugh because you're sick, but also because, and I guess like maybe this is the difference between you and I, who grew up watching Evil Dead 1, 2, and arguably 3.
I watch Army of Darkness more than I watch the other two movies.
Right. But that's like, that eye thing is a thing.
Yeah.
Anybody else who's watching that movie in and of itself just as a one installment, maybe they'd never seen another Evil Dead film or any other property like Evil Dead property, they just think that is a gross gag, and it's more of like gross. They're not like, oh, I see. At that point, they're just like, this is over the top, right?
There's a lot of really good nods, I think, that are subtle, but like that's the thing I loved about it is it did everything with a really deft hand, and that takes a lot of knowledge of the franchise, a lot of respect for the franchise.
Sure, yeah.
To be able to take something and so adeptly modify it to be exactly what I think a branch of this franchise's fan base wanted is hard to do. Because you could try and split it. Okay, I got to appease everybody.
Right.
I got to put some yucks in there, and I got to put some hardcore stuff in there. It's like they picked their lane, they stayed in it, but they also like every now and then we're like, here's a little tip for you, and you're like, yeah, that's
and
great.
I do feel it did that great. So even though I'm saying maybe I don't count it as a full-on Evil Dead, or I'm questioning, I'm not saying I am, I'm just saying I'm questioning that, I have to respect them for making the choices that they did, making the movie that they wanted to make, while still, like you said, being true to and respecting the source material, while also giving me enough of that where you have those nods, you have those evolutions of we'll swallow your soul, we'll swallow your souls. I fucking love that. I like the idea that they've changed things. I like the whole thing, the whole DJ aspect of getting that information to me in a new version of the old way. I'm on board, and I appreciate the shit out of all that.
Did you notice what just happened?
What?
When you said swallow your souls, your microphone went crazy.
Did it?
Yeah, it sounded really scary. Don't do it again.
I didn't hear.
It's staying in. You all heard
right
that.
Now, there's 2 or 3 people right now who are rolling their Spotify's around, their SoundClouds around to try to see if they can summon demons. I was waiting for a Klaatu Barada Nikto thing, but
roomies with the maggots now.
Here's my closing thought is what I want to happen in the next one.
Okay.
Regardless if it's splat stick or serious or a reboot or a retread or something new or whatever, Evil Dead in Space, whatever it is, I want them to establish Chekhov's chainsaw early.
Mm-hmm.
I want one of the main characters, if not the main character, to lose or injure their arm. And I want us to assume we know what's going to happen. And then I want a Deadite to pick up that chainsaw and put its hand inside of it and have a Deadite with a chainsaw arm.
It would be great. I'd buy onto that. Here's what I want. Keep putting it in new places. Don't ever go back to the woods. Stay the fuck out of the woods. We did that for so many movies, so many video games, every ripoff of every movie, of every Evil Dead movie. We have enough cabin in the woods movies. Stop making.
Stop it.
Stop it. Thanks. Thank you. What was that from? Elves?
No, that was
Cold.
It was like some freezing bullshit.
The freezing, yeah. It was like cryogen zombies.
Yeah, cryogenic zombies. And it was
but our buddy Grizzly Adams was in it. So
Dan Haggerty, yeah.
Dan Haggerty.
It's a movie. It's for what you guys are listening. Well, it's not your fault. You weren't there. At Shitty Movie 1,000 years ago, we watched this movie about cryogenic zombies who end up getting thawed out. Dan Haggerty plays a security guard.
If you guys don't know, me and Rumi love us some Dan Haggerty.
Dan Haggerty,
Grizzly Adams,
great shitty movies. Yeah, he's a security guard at this place, as is some other nerdy guy who's like his sidekick. And these zombies start to get out and start doing shit. And one of the zombies tries to get them, and they slam a garage door down on its hand, and the hand gets severed and is crawling around. And the nerdy security guard starts crying and barfs all over the place. And as he barfs, Dan Haggerty looks at him and he goes, Stop it. And it's like the disdain. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but the disdain in his voice when he reprimands his coworker. Ruby and I, we have told each other, we have never since told each other in a regular voice to desist doing something. It's always been, stop it, Rumi.
To stop a bodily function, an involuntary bodily response. Stop it.
That is not completely inappropriate to the situation, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot going on if there's zombies running around and you just accidentally chopped one of their hands off. Fuck, what was the name of that movie?
Dude, that year at Shitty Movie Sunday's Halloween party, no less than three people dressed up as Dan Haggerty from different movies. 3 people showed up with like fake beards and stuff, and like playing Grizzly Adams, but from different movies.
That movie was called The Chilling.
The Chilling,
and Linda Blair was in it. Damn, yeah, I got to rewatch that too.
Shit, it's not good, but it was funny.
Well, stop it, Ruby.
Stop it. Yeah, stop going to the woods. Put it on a cruise ship. I don't care. Put it on a bus that can't slow down. I don't care. Put it in space. I don't care. Just don't go back to the woods, please. I beg you. I beg you. I beg you. You've done such a good job with not going to the woods. And like we just like we get it. We get it. If I want to go back to the woods, I have like 9 movies and a TV series that go back to the woods multiple times, and it's great. It's so good. Oh, my writing partner Pat just bought a piece of land right next door to the original cabin, like literally within walking distance. 4 minutes.
Stop it, Pat. Stop going to the woods.
Don't go in there. But yeah. So go somewhere else. I vote cruise ship. I honestly do, because poop cruise. Just thinking of all the horror stories of like these stranded cruise ships and like just poop erupting from their toilets. I think there's a lot to be done with with some of that.
But no yucks. You just want straight horror poop.
I don't want funny poop. This is true. Stop being funny. No funny poops here. I do like it when it's not funny, but I want it to be more like this. I don't know what it is. The Freddy Alvarez wasn't having any fun. This one still had some fun. I mean, they had cheese graters, and like just when you thought it couldn't get crazier, it was like, hey, now one of these teenage kids is a fucking deadite. Like, it kept doing things that made me want to high five. So that to me is the fun. That's where the yucks came in. I don't need you to mimic a 80-year-old comedy troupe that that isn't respected anymore. Like, and again, I love Three Stooges. If they're on, I'm watching them. But like,
with disdain.
no, not even.
No, I know.
Again, if I'm popping on Evil Dead 2, I know I'm doing that for that reason.
Right.
I don't like, because here's the other thing. The first time you watched Evil Dead 2, where you're like, this isn't scary. I thought this was supposed to be a hardcore horror movie. You know, this movie is one of the bloodiest films of all time. What are you talking about? When you watch Brain Dead for the first time and you're like, I heard this was the goriest thing ever. This is a comedy. Like, there's a disappointment almost when you feel like you've been lied to or tricked. Haha, you thought you were going to see some gnarly shit, kids. Here's some Three Stooges bits. Get over here, you. Boink, 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 boink. Like, right? There's a little bit of bait and switch going on.
I get that.
But if they're singing and dancing while they're doing it, I'm on board. I'll watch the musical anytime. I love the musical. The musical is hysterical.
Yeah, the musical was great. And it is a great, it's kind of subverting expectations again, because you don't expect to see a horror movie.
Nope.
In a Broadway show. You don't expect to see that, I'll use your phrase, balls to the wall horror movie as a Broadway show. And then when there is literally a first couple rows called the splatter zone, where they give you ponchos so that you get covered in blood, that is like so far, like the play you're watching is so far removed from the normal Broadway experience that they're embracing it, leaning forward into it by purposely spraying you with blood. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. But this actually brings up a really good point, which we should probably close out, but I'm having a great time talking about this. Evil Dead continually subverts its own expectation. The first one was a hardcore horror movie and then tried to be that. The little engine that could. The second one was like, fuck that, we already did that. Even though we're remaking the movie, we're going to make it funny. Subvert all expectations and prove that we can pull it off. They pull it off. It is a very adept at doing the thing that it set out to do. And then the third one is like, we're going to do a time travel ripoff of a Connecticut Yankee in a King Arthur's court. Do that well. Okay. Like, I don't know what you're going to do, man. You can do whatever you want. That's great. The constantly keeping it, like, it'd be funny if like every other one, like the next one is like completely like Paul Feig is doing it.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think. The next one should be animated and it should be a children's film.
See, there you go. Subverting expectations.
Yeah.
But like, here's the problem. Like, comedy changes, and the comedy of that era isn't even the same comedy as now.
Right.
Like, who are you going to have do the next one? Is it going to be like Seth Rogen and those guys? James Franco and Seth Rogen as those?
Not on my watch. Stop it.
Is it Paul Feig and the Bridesmaid crew? They did a Ghostbuster movie. We all saw how that went. Are you going to make an Evil Dead now? Like what comedy is going to work for that now? And I think they proved with the TV show that brand of comedy worked for this genre and for this property. And it worked great. But I don't know if you can pull a new style of comedy out that fits today's comedy and have it land really well.
It would have to be like a mockumentary style.
Maybe. But like, today's comedy is mean anyway. So it's like,
yeah, that's true.
Maybe Evil Dead Rise was a comedy and we're just old and stupid. Kids are watching this like, hilarious. Mom stabbed her son in the face.
Pass me some more Michelin pizza.
Sammy, when I finally get to show Sammy this franchise, she's like, that's hysterical. My favorite part is when the mom like menaced her kids and stabbed her kid with glass. Cheese graters, hilarious. My kid's gonna be so jaded and cynical. This is a comedy to her.
This is gonna be her favorite one.
I'm gonna show her the Three Stooges. She's gonna think it's barbaric.
She's like, it's boring without all the horror aspects.
Like, he poked him in the eyes and the eyeballs stayed into their sockets.
Yeah.
Boo. Boo.
If that pie was a head, I would be more interested.
Well, I think we solved all the world's problems. Been fantastic. I have something to plug, man. I got to plug something real quick.
Do it.
It's October. We got doing some scary stuff. You can find me and my writing partner, Pat. We're over at Block of Horror doing some really cool events. There's going to be a screening of Freaks, I believe, is something that's in the works. I think we got, we're going to do some really cool stuff. There's a film festival coming out. Some really cool stuff over at Block of Horror. So go check that out on Discord and on X, whatever Twitter is these days.
Venti.
Block of Horror. We're doing some cool stuff with them. And that's fun. And then, of course, us, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Launchpad Pod, and our website, launchpadpod.com. And on YouTube, where you can watch me get enraged about Three Stooges bits.
I'm trying to think of how to Three Stooges up our handshake.
I'm going to lie on the floor and spin in a circle while I go. Yeah, all right. You ready? We've been the Rocketeers, and we are out. That's all, folks.
The podcast of the dead.
The Rocketeers are with the maggots now.
We'll swallow your pod. We'll swallow your pod.
Don't swallow my pod.
That's a different kind of humor. It's called Bottom Barrel. Bring on the dick pizzas.